Thank you, Mr. Chambers, and it was just an absolute delight to work with the very, very talented Steve Penley in the book that we did called Dooley's Playbook, 34 of Georgia's Most Memorable Plays. We actually started the book by talking about all of the Georgia players or coaches that are in the College Football Hall of Fame, and I think we'll turn to that right now. You'd have to go back to Georgia's first All-American, Bob McWhirter, and he was the first one inducted, and of course the name McWhirter is so long associated with Georgia in so many ways, but Georgia's first All-American, Bob McWhirter. Georgia's first football coach, Pop Warner. Pop Warner won something like 315 or 16 games, but he started his career in 1896 and 97 at Georgia and had two very, very successful careers and was later inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Everybody knows Herschel Walker. And Herschel didn't take him any time to get in. As soon as he was eligible, consensus All-American, three-time consensus All-American. We only had one other that did that, and that's David Pollock. And as soon as David Pollock becomes eligible, there's no doubt that he will be into the College Football Hall of Fame. Fran Tarkenton, All-American, All-Pro, through the pass against Auburn to win the championship in '59. Frank Sinkwich, a Heisman Trophy winner in 1942, and one of the great running backs ever in the history of Georgia football. And when you talk about Frank Sinkwich, you probably ought to talk about Charley Trippi, because Charley Trippi came right with and then after Frank Sinkwich. Some say that Charley Trippi might be the greatest all-around player that ever played the game, not just at Georgia, but in all of college football, because he could do it all. But when you put Trippi and Sinkwich in the same backfield, you would have the best combination of two people in the backfield that's ever been. The two great players that played at Army, Glenn Davis and Doc Blanchard, Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside, I don't think either one of them could have held a candle to Georgia's Mr. Inside, Frank Sinkwich, and Charley Trippi, Mr. Outside. This is Bill Hartman, longtime football coach at Georgia. In fact, was my kicking coach for many, many years. And Coach Hartman was a great football player, All-American, and he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. And his coach, Coach Wally Butts, who won 140 games at Georgia and 4 Southeastern Conference championships. And Coach Hartman was Coach Butts' backfield coach. Coach Butts was fortunate to have coached some great players like Trippi and Sinkwich, but he also coached Johnny Roush, who won 2 SEC championships at Georgia in '46 and '48, and he became an All-American. One of the real legends, Catfish Smith, who scored every point in the opening ball game of the dedication of the stadium in 1929 against Yale. He was a football coach and a wonderful character, and one that I really enjoyed knowing, the late Catfish Smith, great athlete. Bill Stanfield, an Outland Trophy winner, the first Outland Trophy winner at Georgia. And he seems to always rise to the occasion when we played Florida, and particularly if there was a quarterback named Spurrier. But Bill Stanfield was in the Hall of Fame. Terry Hogue, who along with Herschel Walker were in that class, I think the best recruiting class that I ever had. Herschel Walker was the #1 recruited player in the country. Terry Hogue was the least recruited player in the country. The only scholarship he had was to Georgia, but he came and became a consensus All-American twice, and also was an academic All-American and went into the Academic Hall of Fame. The only kicker in college football is Kevin Butler. He's the only one in the Hall of Fame, a field goal kicker that kicked the dramatic 60-yard field goal against Clemson but also had field goals of 59 and 57. Went on to be an All-Pro, no doubt the greatest college kicker that's ever been. And then I was fortunate, because of the many good players that I have, to also be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. So these are all the players and the coaches that are in the College Football Hall of Fame that performed at Georgia, going all the way back to Bob McWhirter, the first All-American, all the way up to Kevin Butler, and the next one, eventually you'll see, is David Pollock, the only three-time consensus All-American that we had, besides Herschel Walker.